BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle and the Mighty Trigon make their Jacksonville, Florida debut on Friday, June 14th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center for BYB 27, Brawl in Duval. BYB Featherweight World Champion Harold Lightning McQueen begins his quest for more gold when he faces off against the untamable one, John Bernard, in a lightweight title eliminator fight. Plus, it's a rematch, a grudge match, a year and a half in the making, when Red Sonia Dryland looks to avenge her London loss over 600 days ago to the Red Queen, Jamie Driver. Don't miss all the action. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
Welcome to the Original Fighter's Voice. I'm your host, Don Mcguire. You know, I could be the smartest man in the world, or I could be the most idiotic man in the world. First and foremost, the president of BYB, Mr. Mike Vazquez. Secondly, the CEO, Mr. Greg Bloom. I don't know anybody else who has both their bosses on the show at the same time, but hey, life is such, you know. I'm doing all right. Mike, it's good to be here with you, brother. You know, I've been in this industry a long time, and I kind of got tilted towards BYB. Originally, I was with the other promotion, as we all know, but there was something about this promotion, something about BYB. You know, I knew Dada and Kimbo from back in the day, but I didn't really know you, and I got to know you, and I got to see how this promotion was correlated. Not only how this promotion was correlated, but how much time and reverence you took in creating this staff, you know, from the setup crew all the way to the commentators. And it caught my attention because I've never seen this done before. And when I interviewed you the first time, I told you that you were probably the only true promoter that I've met in the last 40 years of me being in this industry. And I still stand by that statement to this day. You know, my fans and a lot of people really know the basis of Mike Vazquez, but the MMA world truly knows the aspect of Greg Bloom. So I kind of want to jump to Greg real quick. Greg, I know for me, I started in boxing. It's my true love. Had to go to MMA, where you could no holds barred and tough man contest because you were only getting maybe one fight a month in boxing at the time, and I couldn't feed my family that way. But what was it about bare knuckle that took Greg Bloom from organizations like Combat Days Global and other? What took that and put a place in your heart for BYB? Because let's face it, BYB is new in America. It's on the, and when you jumped in, it was on the beginning aspects of it. What was it that defined in your heart that made you realize that you needed to be a part of BYB?
I mean, you know, I was working as the attorney for BYB prior to coming on board as the CEO. Yeah. So I had been sort of behind the scenes getting a chance to watch Mike, you know, lay the foundation for everything, and just to gauge his excitement and, you know, how he felt and how he was aggressively looking to grow the company. And then when I went to the first live event and saw the Trigon and heard the first punch, I was hooked. I mean, I knew by just watching that there was so much runway for what the future held for this company, and I just wanted to be more and more involved.
Yeah, and like with me, you know, it took me a while to kind of really be engulfed by it. You know, I was a fan of it, but it took me a while to be engulfed by it. When did Greg Bloom realize that this was going to be a prevalent step in your walk?
Probably when I came on board as a CEO, I really opened my eyes. It really opened my eyes to the landscape that was in front of us and how much growth potential there was. And it just made me excited. And the more Mike and I got to discuss the future and lay out a roadmap, the more excited I got. So you know, I think we're on the right path, and I think we're the #1 company in the bare knuckle space right now. So looking back to where we came from, to where we are, and to where we're going, it just keeps me very excited.
Yeah. Now, Mike, go back to the days when you and Dada came out with the idea, idealistically, of creating this promotion and moving it forward and creating that dream, bringing the
Mhm.
dream to apparition. How satisfied is Mike Vazquez today with the way that they built the foundation of BYB?
Well, I'm glad you added that last part, the foundation. I'm satisfied with how we've gotten to the point we're at. Where we're not hitting our full stride yet, but pieces are in place. We're not trying to go faster than the cart will allow, or trying to build the building from the top down. So the foundation's been really important. The key players that we've had, from bringing Greg to Mel, our matchmaker, Don on our marketing side, three guys that are putting their heart and soul into it, but see the same vision and are working every day, to get to that, spot where we know we ought to be. We're not there yet, but it's all about timing. It's not about the timing that I want. It's not about what Greg wants. It's about what the market and the market is ready for. And pushing bare knuckle onto the world stage wasn't easy to start. We had a lot of obstacles, a lot of perception that we had to overcome, a lot of stigma that we had to overcome, and we've done a very good job of that. The other organization also has spent a lot of time and energy and money doing the same thing. So we kind of drafted and to some degree, let them spend the money. We work on our things and help grow the sport. But here we are, with a bigger roster, spending, I think wisely, our dollars wisely, putting good fights, building our fighters, telling their stories. Sure, we'll pick up a veteran like we just picked up last week over in Europe. A former UFC veteran, but for
That's
the most
marketable.
part, we're we're building our roster. We're building fighters. We're telling their stories. We're introducing guys like LT, Smash Nelson to the world. Guys that would have been in a niche, but they wouldn't have gotten the attention. So we're building our guys. Ike Villanueva, who spent time in the UFC, but now he's shining as our heavyweight champ. Patty Juarez, who's been in, to a degree in the shadow of her two sisters in the regular boxing world. Now she's, defended her belt successfully several times, now expanded to a second weight division, is going for that second title soon. So we're telling our fighter stories, we're building them up. And that's part of our foundation. We're not trying to get those big names, to come down and help pull us up. We're building together. We're making sure that all the creases between the blocks have the mortar and that they're gonna hold for many years to come. So I'm very satisfied with the approach that we took. I think even it's gone a lot faster to some degree in some states, especially once the ABC got on board and approved national rules. Other states are soon following in and jumping in. So I'm very pleased with that. A lot of
You
work still
see,
to do, though. That's for sure. There's a lot of work still left to do, and that's the next level of evolution. Like I said, acquiring BKB, putting our assets together as far as inventory, our fighter rosters. Now we have well over 250 fighters. I think bare knuckle fighters, experienced bare knuckle fighters, and I think that's the largest roster in bare knuckle. That's for sure.
I have to agree with you. Jonathan Cole says it's great to be on with you gentlemen tonight. I have to agree, Jonathan. And Steve Schroeder, a good friend of mine, he says Mike Vazquez is a very smart man, uh, smarter than a lot of us know. But Mike, we we look at this world. I'm going to speak as a third party to myself because when I look at the sport, there's two bare knuckle organizations. One primarily used, and I hate the terminology, and I don't really want to use the terminology, but it's the best way to get it across.
Mhm.
Expired fighters that were at the end of their walk from the UFC, Bellator, PFL, and such. You
Mhm.
chose a different route. And what I found as a third party looking at both promotions was, yeah, they're paying out the big money. Yeah, they're getting some semi good talent, But you look at what BYB has done, and you look what Mel Valenzuela has done. What you did was you brought a bunch of young, talented young individuals that weren't has-beens, that had ability. But what surprised me from doing the BYB interviews and the BYB show, what it created was a group of fighters that respect each other, appreciate each other. They come on each interview, even though they're going to fight each other, they come on my show and show love and appreciation. And you know, I've been in this industry for 40 years. I've never seen that. I've never seen when I'm interviewing one of your fighters and I got 10 other of your fighters on my show. You know, what does it mean for both? And I'll ask you first, Greg, how does it feel for you knowing that the platform that you guys created not only gave you a stable amount of fighters, but it created a family atmosphere amongst the people who fight for bare knuckle fighting organization? And I think that's one of the greatest aspects that I've seen so far, is because you truly got fighters who want to be there. You truly got fighters that want to support each other. What does it mean as a CEO to be able to sit back and not have to worry about the trivial bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the cherry on top. You know, part of our initial roadmap was we wanted to find young, hungry, organic talent, because this was a new sport, and as the sport starts to expand, like you said, those people who are more towards the end of their careers, they're not going to like this sport. So it's the slower route, but as you develop talent, now we have a stable of fighters signed to our roster who we would put up against any other organization in the snap of a finger, because we know they're seasoned, they're dedicated to the sport, and they're dedicated to BYB. And so to answer the other part of the question, the family atmosphere is a byproduct of what we do and what how we've decided to run this organization. A lot of these fighters, as you know, Don, from being in the game so long, they're used to being treated a certain type of way. And we've tried to remove that stigma by, you know, treating it's just a simple level of respect that's missing in this business that we try to give to everyone who's part of our team or you know, fights under our umbrella. And that goes a long way. It's not necessarily always about the dollars, although that's the majority of the importance, because fighters have to make a living, but how you treat them in between fights and how you promote them and how you try to build them speaks volumes as well. And so to me, I'm very pleased with the atmosphere we've created. And I think it's very attractive to a lot of fighters, whether young or old, experienced or you know, being well recognized or not. It's the place everyone wants to be. And now that we've expanded to Europe, it's the place where everyone really wants to be.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that in a little bit. Mike, you know, you heard the question I asked Greg, you know, and I know you're a very family oriented individual, whether it be in your personal life or in your business life. What does it mean for you? Because I know you came from the hard days creating this promotion. I know you came from, you know, creating a dream to putting it on paper to actually putting it into an existence. What does it mean for you now? Like Greg said, you know, it's kind of like a cherry on top. Where does that relevance sit for you? Because a lot of promoters would say, "Oh, I don't give two craps," but in reality, a promotion is only as good as the fighters or the word that they're spreading about the promotion. So how does that make you feel, knowing that people not only want to fight for you, but they want to come back? They
No,
don't.
I mean, we you know, going back to my days in NASCAR, and relationship building down in Mexico and building our own team, and having a team, you know, of guys that, you know, I didn't live in Mexico. I would go there every 2 weeks, but the guys were working there every day, you know, and they always say, you know, what's the mice will play when the cat's away. But even though I wasn't there physically, but they were there working, they were putting our cars together. The engineers were working, doing the R&D and always treated everybody that we work with like family. We respect each other. We all have a mission, get our job done, help each other. If someone's running late or running behind or has a family issue, we all both, you know, pull together to help that person complete their task or whatever it is. I mean, it's just the way that I've you know, been raised, you know, independent family, you know, own business and you know, entrepreneur. You try to to pull the best out of yourself. You need to, really, you have to, and then try to get everybody, around you involved. And then when you're doing something like combat sports, same thing. Imagine in NASCAR, in combat sports, people are actually, bleeding for you. It's not, what is it, literally or figure? It's not figuratively, it's literally.
Literally.
So you got these guys coming out here doing this show, not for you particularly, but for the fan base, for your organization. And they should have earned your respect, and your admiration and your appreciation, and you should be there for them in return. So we treat each other, and it's not just hyperbole or whatever. We do treat each other like family. If someone has an issue, we try to address it. If there's a squabble, we try to quash it. You don't see, and you see that with our fighters. Like you said, Tommy and LT became great friends after they fought on the card together in London. They eventually had to fight each other. They were both game for the moment, but that respect never diminished, not even during the fight, and immediately after the fight. So I love seeing that. I love seeing the fighters, Duran going at it, losing a tooth, and he's there. They're hugging each other at the end of the fight, and the respect and the admiration. The girls, Patty. I mean, I love seeing that. That's like the sign of a true warrior. It's, look, I'm here to do my job. Whether it's fight to defend myself or to defend my castle or whatever it was. They're warriors, and they do the task, and there's no nothing else about it. Some guys will take it a little bit more personal, or they'll try to get into somebody's head, or whatever. Sometimes it works against you. You get more in your own head than somebody else. But as an organization, we tell the fighters, be yourself, have fun, do your thing. We don't go in for gimmicks, or let's build this up, or slap this, or do that, or unfortunately, some of that is what the public likes. Like our banana incident, that was a surprise to everybody. The banana went flying across. Who would have imagined a banana flying halfway across stage would have got millions of views on different kind of platforms and all that. But to a degree that sells, but that's not what we're looking to do. Our results are in the ring. That's what we try to push.
Yeah, and speaking of the gentleman that had his banana fly halfway around, it's like you look at Cub Hawkins,
Yeah,
Greg. I know you and Greg and
stud.
Mel
Hawkins
have
is
to
a stud.
be, yeah, you got to be ecstatic about the gentleman. I mean, just turned 25 years old, 2 division champion. I mean, the guy is just incredible. So this is one thing that I really wanted to ask both of you, because this is really playing out now with your competition. Now they've gone to is they've expended so much of their money. I don't care how much Conor McGregor owns. I don't even know if he owns, because you don't know with that organization what the truth is. But they've gone to what they do in Europe. If you don't sell 50, 60 tickets, they take you off the card.
Mhm.
To me, that's taking the sport backwards. And then you sit there and you look what BYB does. They let them come, sometimes 3, 4, 5 days early, let them stay, 3, 4, 5 days late. And here you got your competition basically telling people, if you don't sell tickets, you can't get on the card. Well, what if you're a guy from Connecticut and you're fighting in Phoenix? Of course he isn't going to sell tickets. Then the other night they did a weigh-in. They couldn't even afford to do it in the arena. They had to do it outside in the parking lot. So when you sit back and you build this platform, I love that idea of what the whole team at BYB is doing, because I could sit here and throw millions of dollars and still fail. I watched it happen with Fight Night Returns. We did an event. We lost $350,000 in one night. You don't win the race
Well,
that way.
it's easy to play with other people's money.
Yeah.
I've always said that. It's easy to spend other people's money when it's your own money. And like I said, part of the reason you want to build a strong foundation, if you're playing fast and loose with other people's money, it's easy to let it go to your head. And by the time you realize you've overspent, it might be too late. You might not get any more of other people's money. I can't speak for what the other guys do. Obviously what they're doing has shown them success to a degree, whether that's long term, or if there's a solid foundation from it. That, who knows? Like I said, we're not in it about them. We're in it to do what we've done. Getting back to the family aspect, BYB started in the backyard, in Dada's backyard, his house, his home, his community. And it was a community event where beefs were settled, where people had fun, where literally, if you see the movie Dogfight, you'll see the police were happy when Dada had an event because the whole neighborhood was in his yard having a good time, having a big barbecue, watching fights, and there was peace everywhere else. So that kind of community feels what we try to bring to our events, and we try to show that, our staff, myself personally, when we meet people there, when it's their first time, I really haven't had anybody tell me, yeah, it was okay. Everybody's like, it's been a great show. I've been to this, I've been to that. This has been the best show I've ever had. The fights were one after another. Everybody was so nice. Your media team was great. So I mean, that's the result I enjoy hearing. And that's what we want to see continue as we continue to grow and elevate. But that's where we are. That's where Dada says we make the weekends. We try to be that. Paulie and Mike, when they're going back and forth, we want guys to feel like they're the third guy at that desk. That they're just part of that conversation. I want open conversation. I don't want company shills, telling me how great of a fight we're watching if it's not great. There's moments that a fighter is not going to shine, or whatever, and it's okay to say so. Without disrespecting the fighter if he's having an off night or whatever. But that's just the kind of thing we want people to feel genuine, like we're real. That's what we are. We are real.
Oh yeah, and I can attest to that 100%. Greg, I got a question to ask you because I've worked for just about every promotion that's ever existed, but I've never seen a promotion have such a tremendous team, from the setup with Alex and his crew to Don Povia, to the commentating team, to Mel Valenzuela. It just seems like month after month after month, your team continues to hit home runs. I know it makes your job a little bit easier, but how gratifying is it when the three of you have come together and created such a tremendous team that you don't have to ask for the effort is already instilled?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, it's very gratifying. It makes my job a lot easier, and I'm sure that sprinkles down. But the truth of the matter is, it all stems from the guy on the other end of the screen right there. He leads by example, and he's the president of the company, but he's the self-proclaimed chairman, because every event he's actually in the arena setting up every chair and making sure that everyone has a great seat and is going to enjoy the experience. So when you're the owner of the company, when you're the president of the company, and you're doing that, it's very difficult for anyone else underneath not to give 100%. He leads by example. It rubs off on everyone, and it creates a bond with everyone on the team, that everyone is rowing in the same direction, going for a common goal. So it makes my job a lot easier. You're managing a lot of personalities, but when they're all working together, it's great. And we've done a great job of assembling a great team.
Yeah, and it's showing, event after event. I'm not gonna lie. In the early days, I used to watch the other promotion just to see. Now I don't even watch anymore, and the great thing about it is, it's like you have another trilogy that's coming right now, and that's with the Red Queen, Jamie Driver, and Sonya Dreiling. And you don't see promotions get a lot of trilogies because their fighters come and go. And you're right about Mike. Mike, what is it in your upbringing, or just in your self-taught ability? Because I've been at events with you on multiple occasions, and we're there from 6 in the morning until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, just making sure that stuff gets right. What is it behind the man of Mike Vazquez that sees yourself being so determined, and it kind of rubs off on everybody? You're such a hardworking guy that everybody wants to follow in your footsteps. Take like in Biloxi, when I was wiping the water off the floor, and you asked me what in the F was I doing, I said the same thing you would be doing if I didn't do it. And Burt Watson said, and I'd be doing it if you weren't doing it. So what is it about this that has you put so much of yourself into seeing the success of this? What is it about Mike Vazquez that has that? I guess the best way to say it is that undying love for what you do.
I mean, if you know, if I'm from, old school. If you're gonna do something, do it right or don't do it. Let somebody else do it that's gonna do it right. And if I got in the space, whether it be NASCAR or boxing or whatever, if you're gonna do it right, or move over and let somebody else that's gonna do it right, do it and go find something else to do. And I always grew up, with the my dad said, he was an immigrant. He had a license and degree and everything in Cuba. When he got here, he had a lie to be a butcher, so just to get a job as a butcher. Are you have any experience? Oh, yeah, I know, sure, just to get that job. But he said, it don't matter what you do, just be the best damn dog catcher, the best damn butcher, the best damn whatever you choose to be. Just be the best that you can at it. And it goes back to like like Greg said, leading by example. You can't ask people to work hard if they see you loafing, because before I got my companies going and everything else, I worked and I was on the other side, and I would see, if I was working at the bank doing something, and the guy that I reported to was in his office putting while I was doing all the hard work, getting all the paperwork ready, and I had to bring it in. He was putting and he would just sign. Then I'd go back and I'd have to send it all and communicate to all the customers. And I was doing all the work, and all he did was sign the papers, and he didn't have my respect, you know, at all. What the hell's this guy doing? At least look over the papers. Let's talk about it. Let's do something. So, like I said, if you want people to respect you and work hard for you and the organization and work hard for each other, and I have this conversation, with my kids. It's as far as the organization, you know, my other business, for example, we got, a couple hundred families that depend on you, on your work, your company, whether they're direct employees or they're direct employees and employees of vendors that you use, or contractors, or they all depend on your company and your company being successful and continue to, so if I slack and the company goes down, it's just a number of people that you affect down the line. So it's a big responsibility, and you take it seriously, and it comes with big rewards, as well. On some occasions, sometimes you work hard, you don't get anywhere, and that's, I'm old enough to have been through all of that, but it's very hard. You're going to make it well without working hard. Very few success stories, lottery winners, or TikTok famous for one day, but then if it's too easy, if it's not earned, if it's not through hard work, it can go right through your hands. And so work hard and then enjoy it.
Most definitely. Tommy Turner just tuned in, but so did Joshua Oxidine. He says these two are the best in the game, Mike and Greg. But then he adds, the best in the business. I'm ready to become a champion for BYB. See you guys soon. The preacher man is something else. I love the preacher man. I don't know about you guys, but see, that's the one thing I do love about the roster at BYB. It's everybody's different. We did bring up Cub Hawkins. He reminds me of Hagler. He doesn't talk to anybody. He goes, sits in the back. He stays by himself. And on my show, I said, bro, you remind me of Hagler. Why do you sit in the back? He said, because they're there to rip my head off in front of my mother, my father, my wife, my kids, and my fan. I'm not going to be friends with anybody, until after the fight. And then you got like Gigliotti and Tommy Turner and all these guys that are really just, it's a tremendous rapport that you have with BYB now. Now, this question, I'm gonna get to these other guys in a second, but I felt this way from day one. They said, Steve Schroeder says the commentary team is excellent. They're the best in the business. Generally a promotion will slowly build a commentary team. What was the thought process of BYB with going after the best in the beginning.
Well, I mean, if they were available, as far as Mikey had stopped his relationship with Bellator, and Paulie, of course, with the Showtime and whatnot, and I thought then, and I think now, they were the best in the business. They didn't work together, and it was going to be interesting how an MMA guy, MMA expert who's seen it all and knows everybody and knows every move in the world, will blend in with a boxing guy who knows everything on the boxing side and seen everything and participated. So it's going to be interesting how they work together. And it's I think, I mean, maybe I'm biased. I'm sure I am. But the fans seem to love it. Even on our comments when we get there, everybody's like, "Man, Paulie's the best at what he does." Mikey, it's great to see Mike back. I can tell you they each have their. Mike is the most prepared man in the business. Mike is just prepared, detailed notes. He's got his computer. He's got fast facts that he pulls out of nowhere. But he's the most prepared. And Paulie's just the most naturally talented. He sees it and he spits it out. And I told him, Paulie, no filter is what I love. Like I say, just say. I want guys to feel like they're sitting there, part of your conversation. Don't be a shill. I don't want, and not that Paulie was ever going to be one, or Mike, but we wanted that personality to come through, and I think it does. It's one of the first things. Obviously, I see all the fights live when I'm there in at the events. But the first thing I do is I ask for the feed, so when I get home, I can see it on TV and see what the fans, saw. Whether the music was right here, whether it was this or that, or how the commentary and everything. And I think over the last few events, we've enhanced our production team. We've continued to grow around Mike and Paulie on the production side. We've brought in some new facets to the production, and we're continuing to tinker and grow in that regard. But again, building around the core fighter base, guys like Harry, guys like Tommy, guys like LT, and now, guys like Barry Jones and Marco and Sweeney and Chapman and oh geez, I forgot. I'm drawing a blank now. He did a draw with LT.
Canelli, James Canelli.
Yeah, how can I forget James Canelli? Obviously,
Mm.
another stud. So I think, honestly, like I said, not only do we have the biggest roster, but we have some killers from both sides of the border that I'd put against anybody in the world.
I agree with you. I love BYB. Like I said, it's one of my most exciting. I don't even watch the UFC anymore, bro. I don't. I just watch BYB because I was a fan, and I don't know if you know this, but I was already a fan. But December 2nd, when Mark Irwin and Julio Tenori stepped into that mighty Trigon and did what they did in Denver, dude, I was more than a fan. I was more than a fan. As you know, you let my brother and his wife come. And the first two fights, she goes, I was expecting more blood. I said, just wait. Just wait.
Well,
And then
that's
after
a
that
prime
fight,
example right there of two guys that you might have not heard of before. We brought them onto the scene. You might have seen them locally or this or that, but they put the best fight of 2023, maybe of all time on the bare knuckle side. I mean, LT and Sam Liera
Tommy.
had a war in 22. That was fight
Yeah.
of the year in 2022. This was fight of the year 2023. We might have to have a fight of the year of the the 2020s or something that we'll pick at the end of the decade or something. But those are fights that I put them up against any UFC fight or any other organizations best of. Those were wars and warriors, and you saw immediately after both fights, LT and Sam drinking beer together. They handed Sam a beer, and it went right through his hand because he couldn't hold it. He couldn't make a fist, so it went right through his hand, and everybody was laughing. Gave him another beer. He grabbed it with his other hand, and they were just chatting, and they became brothers. I mean, when you go through something like that, same thing with Tenori. There was a little bit of blood between Tenori and Mark.
Yeah.
So immediately after the fight, they weren't immediate friends, but they ran into each other a couple days later, took a picture together, and there's respect there. So
Well, see, I was even that way with Mark Irwin. The first time I met him, I said, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?" He went like this, you know, and so that he was on my show, and I was like, "Oh, I got to interview this kid." So I'm going to ask him why was the first time I met you? Why did you flip me off? He goes, "The company told me to." I said, "Man, the company didn't tell you to flip
Yeah,
people
That
off,
must have been
bro."
in Charlotte. That must have been in
yeah.
Charlotte because that's how he welcomed the
That was
crowd
in
when he.
Biloxi. It was in Biloxi.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, and so I gave a bad time, but you know what? Like I just had Stephen Blair, the WBC referee who refereed that fight on the other night. He actually
Mhm.
went in the Hall of Fame with me. And dude, you got this guy so jacked on BYB. He's just like he can't get enough of it. When you guys were coming to Denver for the second time, he was like, "Bro, can you talk to Mike? Can you get me on the card? Can you get me on the card?" And it's just like he said, "I had an idea of what was going to happen." He goes, "But my God, I just fell." He goes, "It was so exhilarating. I just fell in love with this. It was just," he said, "I called Clancy and asked him what to expect. Clancy said, just roll with it." He goes, "Man, it was one of the most exhilarating fights that I've ever had in my 56-year career." And I was like, "Bro, now you know why I'm with the promotion, what I see in the promotion. There's just, you can't find that anywhere else." Thinking, I told you a lot of your fighters love the show. Harrison Gigliotti said, "Let's go." You know, that's a young fighter that I'm very proud of. See, this is what I like. You guys, Mel is doing just whoever's doing it is finding these guys that have boxing ability, have talent, but they also have great rapport, great attitudes, and they're fun to be around. And it's just unusual. Here we are, 2024, and BYB is bringing fighters that you could bring home to mama that are very personable. I mean, I'm just
I wouldn't
being
go that
honest,
far. I
dude.
wouldn't go that far yet, Don. But
Hey, well, we're
close
getting
enough.
there, bro.
You
Um,
haven't met Eric Olson, have you?
oh, I've met Eric Olson before. That's the kind, I wouldn't bring him home to my neighbor's mama.
No,
um,
we're very proud of our guys. Harry's a great guy. All the guys up and down the roster, our girls, boom, boom, and I mean, all everybody is really proud of them. Wish I could spend more time. At some point, I've been thinking about this. Doing some kind of event where we can get together. Whether it's in Florida or somewhere at some point. Or maybe a couple, one for the East Coast, West Coast, or something, just so we can get some downtime. Because even Greg and I and our staff,
Yeah,
when we hit the ground on an event, we waste no time. We hit the ground running and we're working. And at the end of the day, there might be an opportunity for us to go out to dinner together, but usually, Don's got to upload this. I'm still at the venue, and Mel's doing this, Greg's doing that. So we don't get all that time that we would like to enjoy with each other. We did when we were out in Dubai because we were out there for a week. So we were
yeah.
out there. We did the sand, the desert. We did all the touristy things together. Before, and we stayed a couple of extra days after. But on a regular week show, we don't. We're really working hard, but I enjoy. I enjoy spending time with the fighters, and I, chit chat with them, and they always hit me up, and I always got to remind them. I said, I'll talk to everybody anytime. I love talking to you guys. I don't make any of the decisions on the card, though. I don't. I give that to Mel. You get your best horse for the course. Mel's the guy. I don't get involved, in the fine tunings of things. Um, Harry's actually the only one guy that I've said to Mel, because I don't come from that background. I don't come from that
yeah,
world, right? Greg comes from that world on the boxing side, and Mel and MMA, and Mel from the boxing. So I'm limited in that, but I could see talent, and I could see and I remember seeing Harry on the Triller Metallica card that obviously attracted my attention. When he fought in the Trigon, the unofficial Trigon. So I saw that whole card, and out of that whole card, I looked at him and I was like, that's that guy's got skill and he's got a little flair. I like that kid. He brightened the card, right? You got a fighter that comes in, puts a smile on your face or whatever. And just months later, I forgot what it was. Something had happened, and I reached out to Mel and I said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody in that weight, you know. And I said, you know what? You never know. Reach out to this kid, see if he's interested. You know, he's already fought in the ring, so he's familiar with it. You know, and so he's really the only time I've ever gotten involved and just suggested somebody because he stood out to me that one time. Other than that, I don't get involved. And even if Mel would have said, "Nah, I don't want him," I wouldn't have pushed. You know, I'd say, "Okay," you know, whatever. So you know, I let
I'll add
everybody do their
validity
thing.
to it. I'll add validity to it because I can't even get a fighter on the card if I call Mike. I can't get a fighter on the card if I call Greg. What do I get? Call Mel.
Yeah.
I get it just like everybody else. I mean,
and that's what it is. You know, we got to put the people in place who know what they're doing. And Mel is, you know, he's a Hall of Fame matchmaker in his own right, and he has a great eye for talent. I worked with Mel back at Combate. That's where we met, and I knew he was one of the best guys from working with him for that small window. But he has a fantastic eye for talent, both in boxing and MMA, and you're starting to see the results in that, specifically for bare knuckle with guys like Harry and Oxendine and Cub, and you know all these guys that he scouted out and found, you know, through this process. Besides Harry, who Mike found, I want to be clear about that. But you know, he's doing a great job of cultivating this talent and growing it, and we're just starting to see the results as now all these guys are becoming title contenders and title holders.
yeah, and they're not going anywhere. They're staying. See, that's where guys usually get to this opportunity of a title shot. You know this, Greg, quite well, especially in the MMA world. They get an and then they jump for a better offer or what they think is the grass is greener on the other side. And it's not. Trust me, people. I've been in this industry for 40 years. I've never seen a promotion ran like this. I never have. It's new to me. I think what it is, it's unequivocally you, Mike, Alex, and a couple other people that are just truly determined to see this succeed. And that's what it takes. It takes, you know, I've been with Mike at the arena from 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night, you know, 2, 3 days in a row, you know, eating a taco on the run. You know, hell, I didn't get my first Cubano until, what was it, Rock Hill, South Carolina, the last time. And I've known Mike for 3.5 years. But it's family. At the end of the day, I think that's what makes everything work so great is because you could be the owner, Mike, you could be the CEO, Greg, but it depends on how you treat people. If you treat people like shit, you're going to get shit, you know, and there's none of that there. Like I told Mike the first time I interviewed him when I walked into a meeting, you know, at BYB, there wasn't an ego in the room. But yet you got Claudia Trejos, Paulie Malignaggi, Mike Goldberg, Benny Ricardo. You got all these people that could have an ego and not feel 2 bits of shame about it, but none of them do because they're there for the same extensive purposes as you two are. They want to see this succeed. I remember Mike Goldberg, you know, talking about when Mike said, "Hey, you like this? You interested?" And Mike Goldberg said, he said, "I was just waiting for him to come ask me to work for him." You know, he said, I was already sold on this crap. You know, and it's tremendous because I'm in the Hall of Fame with Goldberg. And it is truly family because 2 weekends ago, Claudia Trejos was at my National Boxing Hall of Fame induction. Mm-hmm. See, that's what it's supposed to be like. You know, everybody supporting everybody. You know, I'm going to get through, I got a little bit longer than I expected, and I'm going to get to you in a second, Greg, because we've got a lot to talk about in the future. But I'm going to get through some of these comments real quick because I just get enthralled with you guys because Mike, let's face it, Mike, you could talk my ear off. Greg's the quiet one, but my grandfather, my adopted grandfather, he says, "Hello, everyone." He says, "Tomorrow, Don, praying for you." I think he's talking about my surgery, but they call him Little Holmes out of Canada. His name's Paul Driscoll, one of Larry Holmes' best friend and biggest fans. He says, "Hello, gentlemen." Steve Schroeder says, "You got the best commentary team in the business." Let me see. And Bill Clancy, I went in the Hall of Fame with him this last weekend, too. He says, "Hello, gentlemen." He says, "Been busting my ass for 42 years. He sure has. And head of psychology for NYU and and he actually lives in Jersey. John Grady says, "Outstanding interview. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time."
Thank you.
And then Mike Vasquez is the goat of bare knuckle boxing promoters, and that came from Nate Wren, who actually goes into the Hall of Fame this month. You know,
Congratulations, Nate. Yeah, he's a rock star in his own right.
yeah, and he goes, this kid's crazy. He's phenomenal. You guys talk about finding talent. I'm like you, Mike. I like seeing other people succeed. I want to see people come up and beat me. And I started working with this gentleman about 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. He's 33 years old, goes in his first Hall of Fame this month, and then he goes into the Hall of Honors in September, his second Hall of Fame at the age of 33. I don't know any two-time Hall of Famer at the age of 33. This guy is Julio Cesar Chavez's senior's Guy Friday. He works for Junior, and he worked every other legend in this industry. Just he's such in high demand, and he actually just shot the Hall of Fame that we were at. This is what life is about. It's about ensuring that there is success tomorrow.
Well, Nate
Greg,
puts in work. He definitely puts in the work, and you can see he's passionate about what he does, and he's a likable guy, and that's a lot of times that's half the battle, especially when you're meeting people and you have to be able to approach them, and kind of get them to lower their guard so you can get that, it. I mean, you know it better than I do, to get that right shot, that right image, that comfort level where they're not antsy or something like that. So he puts in and from what I understand, you've been a role model for him from my limited conversations with him. So he learned from the best, and he's going to reap the rewards.
I think a lot of my learnings and my teachings, honestly, a lot of it came from you, believe it or not, because I can be an ass, but you also taught me that it's not about us. It's see the smile on your face. That's what it's about. It's about creating a difference in somebody else's day. And I think that's the greatest part about life because Greg, we get wrapped up in this industry. We work with 4 or 5 different promotions and we lose sight of who we are sometimes and we can be assholes to people, pardon my French, but it's not intention. When you got a 24-hour a day job, things kind of build up. But I'm going to get through some of these last few comments. Uh, Bill says, I'm always available, and it's a first-class organization, bar none. Tommy Turner said, because BYB is where the real dog fights are, and I haven't scratched the surface yet. Comeback tour has just begun.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
Love Tommy and his family. Great group of people, and like I said, Tommy, LT and his family, coming and support him at all the events, whether we're in London or Denver or Miami or wherever it is. Patty, her entourage, and her sisters really taking liking because you think about bare knuckle just a few years ago. If you were in the boxing world, we were worse than the redheaded stepchild. Really, it was we were like the kids that you didn't want to know. But to see her sisters support her, rally around her, and say, "Hey, this is real. This is coming up, and we want you to be successful." And it's great to see. It's great to see.
Yeah.
This is a gentleman that refereed the Julio Tenori fight versus Mark Irwin. He says, "Good evening, guys. So great, so far, great show. BYB is definitely an ass. What is that? I can't read. Come on, Steven, you're a ref, man. You can type better than that, bro. Definitely I guess, very professional. Totally enjoyed working with you all. Such respect and God bless you all."
Well,
Hey, Steven, if you want me to read more, you got to have to type it better, bro.
let me tell you something about him. First of all, congratulations to him because he was also inducted this year.
Yeah, with
As
me.
soon as that fight was over, I walked into the ring and I looked at him, and he had blood. He looked like he had just gone out of surgery. He had no gloves on whatsoever. He looks at me, he had blood on his forehead, on the top of his head down his forehead, and he had a big smile on his face. And he looks at me, and he goes, "Maybe I should have worn gloves for this one." And I handed him a towel. I said, "Look, there's a little alcohol on this towel. And he started wiping his things, and I said, I pointed at his forehead, and he wiped his forehead out, and he was just laughing or whatever. And I knew, I said, wow, man, this guy had a great time. This guy's this. No wonder he's in the Hall of Fame. He really enjoyed that. It was a 6-round war. Meanwhile, I'm looking at my wife in the crowd with a couple that was friends of ours she was sitting with, and she's looking at me like they're all looking at me like in disgust that I'm up there, cleaning the ring ropes with blood with no gloves on. I'm like, it's like I said, these guys and girls, they come in, they fight for us. Am I not going to give them a hug after a fight, even if they're bloody and I'm in a suit? I don't care. If the suit gets cleaned or if it doesn't, it gets thrown out, we'll get something else. I'm not going to say, oh, no, excuse me. No, don't give me a hug or push away. No, absolutely. You deserve that and even more, So, I enjoy it. And I know that the gentleman, that made me laugh. I think about that still. Blood on his forehead, blood all the way. He looked like he had, remember MASH when they used to come with the blood before they walked? He had just blood all the way down to his almost to his elbows. But hope to see him next time we go back to Denver, which could be.
Oh, he wanted
going back second half of this year.
Yeah. When you guys were just in Denver, he wanted to be on the show so bad. He tried to get the job assignment, but they gave it to somebody else. But man, you made a BYB fan for life, dude. It was like, that's all he talked about that at the Hall of Fame. We both did. It was just like, it was
the best referees like Bill Clancy, outside of the time that white boy hit him with a thing, is when you don't even know he's there, right? When you don't even know the referee's there, when your eyes are on the action. And that fight, you could see that 6-round war. You won't even notice him. I mean, your eyes are always on the war. He's just moving around. He did a great job. We'd love to have him back. And Bill, same thing. Bill, we'd love to have you. If I'm not sure what the schedule looks like for Florida.
Yeah, we'll get Bill back in there.
Love to get you back in there.
Yeah.
And let me just go here. Nate Wren says Mike Vazquez is one of the nicest people I've ever had the privilege of meeting. Yeah, I agree with that, but don't make his head big, bro. Mighty Mouse says family.
Yeah, that's right, Mighty Mouse.
Fighting in a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick, because I like to, I gotta represent the show. We're gonna take a quick 30-second break. We'll be right back.
BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle and the Mighty Trigon make their Jacksonville, Florida debut on Friday, June 14th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center for BYB 27, Brawl in Duval. BYB Featherweight World Champion Harold Lightning McQueen begins his quest for more gold when he faces off against the untamable one, John Bernard, in a lightweight title eliminator fight. Plus, it's a rematch, a grudge match, a year and a half in the making, when Red Sonia Dryling looks to avenge her London loss over 600 days ago to the Red Queen, Jamie Driver. Don't miss all the action. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
And we're back. Greg, I'm glad you sent me that message before we went live tonight. So, I know where BYB has come. I know the future is bright, but you're the CEO of the corporation. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to let the BYB fans know around the world what is coming up for BYB, what is transitioning, and what can you let out on the table right now?
Well, I mean, I want to point everyone towards, our June event in Jacksonville. So we have a very busy year coming up. We're going to end up doing 12 shows this year. We're going to be in Jacksonville, then in New Orleans, then back in South Florida. And then we're going to figure out the rest of the schedule as we do some international shows and some domestic shows. With the news that we acquired BKB, it's opened up a ton of options and a ton of possibilities for us. Mega fights that we can do, locations that we can go to. So all that is getting worked out right now, and we're planning out, the rest of this year and the beginning of 2025 for the first half of it. And we're going to be holding a press conference June 13th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center, where we're holding our June 14th event, BYB 27. And we're going to go into more detail. The guys from BKB are going to come on over, and we're going to be talking in real detail about what the future holds.
Yeah, a gentleman, a sponsor of mine, he's been a sponsor of mine for 15 years from Bite Me Mouth Guards. He asked a question. I'm gonna put it up on the screen, but I've been hearing this from, this is probably the 30th person that has asked me this. When is BYB going to come to Utah? The other promotion's already been there. Obviously, they didn't find the resilience in it, but I do your guys' show constantly, and this is something that is becoming more and more and more prevalent. I mean, I get to ask this probably 10 to 20 times a week. When is BYB? Because there's really nothing there. You got Steel Fist, which is an MMA promotion, and really that's about it. You don't have anything else in Utah. So Utah's prime. I know the people that own Steel Fist. They're successful. They do quite well out there. Maybe it's an option that we can look at for 2026, because Utah's been begging me for about a year now to, when's BYB going to come there? But the choice isn't mine. The choice is yours. Uh, Stephen Blee says, sorry, phone mistype BYB is badass. Totally, and thank you, Mike, for the kind words. I was like, wait a minute. I know he's a little bit more articulate than that. So with the correlation of, so you basically, with BYB, it's now going to be BYB, BKB, TM, correct?
It's going to be
Well,
BYB.
yeah,
I mean,
not necessarily what it's BYB. We've acquired them and are going to be transitioning. We're going to have a full debrief as far as what the plans are, but it'll all be under the BYB banner. There'll be our BYB on the state side, the BYB Europe. We'll have cross promotion, champions on both sides, world's champions, but it all be under BYB. We're pushing the Trigon, of course, and unified rules, our same unified rules. Regarding Utah, Jerome Hatch is from there. I'd love to.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. I haven't spoken to anybody in the commission officially. I know during the ABC meetings and whatnot, there was somebody from that commission on there, and we didn't see eye to eye. So I don't know if that's would be something to carry out. If we actually tried to do a show there, but I haven't had any conversations. Like I said, there's a lot of states out there. We try to go to new markets, but we also definitely like to reward markets that have received us well by coming back, and continuing to build the foundation. So you'll see, we'll try something, and if it works well, and we see there's a lot of support, we definitely make sure to put it back on the calendar and try to be back there within 6 months or so. So Utah could be on that rotation at some point, but it's not something that we worked on or have been working on, because a lot of different stuff. Florida's our home base. We love doing shows, 2 shows a year in South Florida, another couple shows between Tampa, and now we're doing Jacksonville. So if we can do 3 or 4 shows a year in Florida, and then do another, 8 to a dozen shows in other states, and then do, other shows in Europe, then we're doing, over 2 dozen shows a year between the U.S. and Europe, and I think that's good. You don't want to saturate the market, because then I'm not going to watch. I'll watch it next week. It's every week, right? So I'll watch it, which is really where I'm at with the UFC. I mean, I love the UFC, but now it's UFC this, UFC that, UFC. It's like there's so many shows that it's not like, oh, the UFC is going to be on next week. Let's make sure to watch it. Let's plan around. The UFC is
Yeah.
on some way, shape, or form all the time, which is great for the UFC. But I'm, I don't want our company to be saturated to that degree, right? I want people hungry to come back for, we don't have, like in NASCAR, I'm used to having a season, right? The season starts in February and ends in November, and you have your off season, and everybody knows that. So there's not saturated. But if you had NASCAR 52 weeks a year, it wouldn't be, it'd lose a lot more fans, just to
Yeah.
don't want to go down that road.
Well, I mean, just like with me being with the UFC from 3 all the way up until 2021, people ask me, Don, did you enjoy the fights? I didn't watch them. Only
Yeah.
time I watch a UFC fight if one of my brothers or one of my family members is on the UFC card. Otherwise, I I don't watch it. I mean, I'm not saying it because you guys are on here, but I watch BYB, and it's only I just now realized that I actually had BN and all the other channels on my damn cable. I was over here on my phone trying to find links and sign up for it. It's on my damn TV. I felt like an idiot. Um, Jonathan says that's great news about the growth of BYB, and sure hope to come to a show soon. The mighty Trigon. And Joe Rice again, he says, man, you'd kill it here. I think there's 3 or 4 universities there. That's why and there's just no entertainment there. I mean, who wants to
That'd be
look at
great.
a,
It's beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful
no,
place.
we definitely look into Utah. I mean, again, with the rapid pace that bare knuckle is expanding and becoming legalized and sought after in different states, it makes it a little harder to get everywhere that you can. But if Utah, if the rule set would be equal for the number of minutes per round and so forth, we would definitely consider going there because it does seem to have a rabid fan base that would be interested in our product.
yeah, and it's growing, man. I hear a lot of people talk about you guys now, and you know, I had a fighter the other day call me from BKFC, and he just said, "Man, I can't do this no more. I can't sell tickets to fight. Why should I have to sell tickets to fight when I already pay all this money out of my training camp? I pay for my, incidentals, and then I don't sell 50, 60 tickets, and I'm halfway across the world, and they tell me I can't fight, and it just breaks my heart because without the fighter, you don't have a promotion. Without the fan, you don't have a fighter. So it just doesn't make any sense that they're going backwards. I've worked with multiple promotions. I've been the vice president of Jackson Wink. The only time, in my personal opinion, that this happens is somebody spent a little bit more money than they're supposed to, or they don't have the money to cover all the costs, and that's why, hence, they did the weigh-ins outside. They couldn't even do it in the building. And they've canceled quite a few events. I haven't seen BYB do that because I'll be the first to tell you, I'll call Mike up and I'll ask him for something. He says, no, bro, it ain't going to happen. We're counting pennies right now. And that's true. And I respect that because if you got to count pennies to make something happen, then that means you're paying attention to what's happening. You want what you're doing to be successful. And you may go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say you want to live within your means,
Yeah.
and that's not only on the business side, that's on a personal end as well. When you get into credit card debt and this and that, that's how relationships strains, marriages are strained. So live within your means, be happy with what you got. Work hard at and do your best. So that's what we've done. We lived within our means. When we can do something, we do it. When we can't, because we have other priorities or other, places or budgets, we work within our
Yeah.
budgets, and we just can't, like I said, people are, my parents taught me this a long time ago. You're going to be, you're going to be everybody's friend while you're saying yes. You can say yes 9 times, but that one time you said no, you're a dick, and you're just an asshole, and then nobody's gonna. It doesn't matter the other 9 times you said yes. So sometimes it's better to say no on the first time and just get over it, get it over with, and whatnot. So no, but we say yes when we can. When we can't do it because there's other stuff, we don't do it. We're not building ourselves, on ego or smoke and mirrors or trying to say we're this or we're that. When we claim that we're the premier bare knuckle company or with the largest roster, it's because we have the largest roster. It's not because, it's not because we spend more money than them. No, if that's the title, who spends the most money, they've got it. They've definitely got it, and they showboats and smoke and mirrors, they've got it. We're very, tight with what we do. We're building strong. We're very, um, um, happy with our progress, like we talked about earlier, and we know we have a lot of work left to do. We're not trying to say we're the equivalent of the UFC or we're this or we're that, or
No,
we're just
you're
working
BYB.
hard. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A true promotion is trying to create greatness. Greg, with the
like that. I said,
acquisition,
be your best. Yeah, BYB could
oh,
stand for backyard brawls or bring your best or be your best, or Dada could give you 100 of them.
right? But Greg, with this acquisition, I I had Jamie Driver on the other night, and she's happy, and some of the other women, that fight for BYB are happy because what this did, it adds women to a roster that weren't there before. They were, but not,
Yeah.
figuratively. So as a CEO for BYB, this has to one of two things: make Mel Valenzuela's job a lot harder or a lot easier. What is your take on that, my brother?
I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. He has a lot more at his disposal, but it's going to make those matchups a lot more difficult to make and a lot more important as you're putting together someone's road to a title shot. So with a roster that doubled overnight, it's going to be very interesting as to what he can do in the future with that. But knowing Mel, it's going to come out with a lot of explosive fights that are going to bring a lot more attention to BYB.
Oh, I agree. Like I said, since not this last December, but actually since Rock Hill, Mel has just been on fire. I mean, there's really, he was doing a hell of a job, but I mean, all of a sudden he just spontaneously combusted. It's just like the guy can do no wrong right now, and as well as I do, matchmakers don't hit this many home runs. So Mel's either got this thing figured out, or he's got more knowledge than anybody in this world because he's killing it. I know a lot of matchmakers, and I won't give him praise like I do Mel. I mean, even if Mel was my enemy, I'd still give him the praise because he's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to make your guys' job that much easier because, Mike, I already know with you, there's just no keeping you calm. You're going to show up. You're going to make sure everything's done, even if you have to do it yourself. You're going to make sure that you could throw a fight on Thursday night instead of Friday night. That's just who you are. But Greg, what does it mean for you from Trump Durrell when I first got the opportunity to see you with BYB to now? How does it make you feel to see this family continue to grow, to continue to expand, and to truly be a part of it? Because you really are.
It makes me proud. I came in as a new kid on the block almost a year and a half ago, and Mike basically handed me his baby and said, "Here you go. Take care of this." And so I took it very seriously, and I think that collectively we've been able to come together and take it from when you saw it at the Trump Doral to now, being on the world stage, doing multiple international shows, being very active, going around the country, putting on shows in new locations, and really building this thing up brick by brick to be the premier bare knuckle company in the world.
And I think you're well on your way to doing that. I mean, I would tell you, because I have nothing to lose. There's a lot of promotions out there, but there's just something. I don't know if it's the Cubano coffee. I don't know if it's just the resiliency in you men and women that are with BYB, but there's just something different about this promotion. I'm not kissing your guys' ass. I'm just being honest with you. There is just something that I see in this promotion that I've never seen in another promotion. Greg, you've been in the MMA industry for a long time.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen fighters eloquate, come on shows like this, pay respect to each other? I mean, isn't it a breath of fresh air coming into BYB compared to MMA?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different landscape. It's different than any other promotion I've worked with in my 20-something years doing this, whether boxing or MMA. It's just different, and everyone's starting to buy in, and everyone is starting to sort of understand what we're trying to build here. It's not something where we're trying to dash out of the gate and get to a finish line. We're building something that's going to be around for decades, and this is the newest, most exciting sport on the planet, and we're looking forward to leading the charge into the next 5-10 years with it, and just overtaking all combat sports as we grow.
I'll give you a quick analogy. You ever seen that show, Flip This House?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're not flipping this house, right? We're building a house that we want our families to live in for the next, 50 years to a century. We're not building a house to flip, and that's, if you can understand that analogy on the business side with the company, we're not building something just, shiny and, it looks like gold and let me get my money and get out of here. We're building something that lasts, and it takes a little longer to build something that's quality. It takes more engineering. It takes better, quality products and vendors and all that stuff. But that's what we're doing. We're building a house for we're building a home for our families. We're not building a house to flip. And
Mike,
that's why we work as hard as we do, and are proud about our work. And that's why Mel does those 50-50 fights. If you look at the odds now that we're on, there's several betting places that are taking our lines now and whatnot. You'll see that our lines are like, I've never seen this anywhere, not even NBA or anybody. They're like, sometimes they're both negative, whatever, or is everything's, negative 100, positive 100. I mean, it's very tight pick 'em fights, and that's what you love to see. When you go into some of these other promotions that you look at the card and you're like, right off the bat, and I'm not going to pick
There's
on
an A side and B.
boxing promotions. Yeah, there's a boxing promotion that you can bet the house on blue every time. I mean, you can bet your house on it. I don't bet, but I've just been there and noticed, wow, blue corner wins every time. There's no mystery in it. You're just like, okay, what rounds he gonna? The only guess is what rounds he gonna lose in. So Mel does a great job with that. He doesn't look for, oh, this guy's gonna get a great knockout. No, we want a good fight. We want a good fight that's even. That's, if it goes 5 or 6 rounds, so be it. It usually doesn't in the Trigon. But that's what we want.
I understand your ideology on we're not going to flip this house, but I also understand that I want to take it just a hair deeper before we wrap things up. It's like, you're not going to flip this house, but you're willing to take multiple blows to make sure this house succeeds. You're willing to take multiple blows to make sure that it's done right. And I think that's where the difference is, though. See, people will take a blow and walk away.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not Greg Bloom or Mike Vazquez's way.
Well, if you look, for example, when you're flipping a house, right, you're going to save money here, you're going to save money there, you're going to patch this instead of doing it properly, or you're going to find, some material that's a little cheaper because you just want to doll it up, put lipstick on the pig and sell it, get your money and go. Right. And that's what I mean by that, right? As far as just, you're doing something, kind of half-assed just because you want to cash out. You want to get your money and run. And that's not what we're doing. When you're building a house for yourself, for your family, even if the building code says, you put a rebar every 10 feet, maybe I put an extra rebar every 4 feet because it's my house and my family, and I want it to be that much more secure in case of a hurricane or a tornado or whatever. So we're building it with a strong foundation and all the way up. We're not just trying to doll it up, smoke and mirrors, make it look sexy and beautiful, give it some curbside appeal, put a nice big price tag on it, and pray that somebody walks by and puts their money on it. And that's the difference between, like I said, spending other people's money and putting your own money into it and showing investors. Because as you grow, you do need investors. God's blessed me, but I'm not the end all of, I can't compete with the UFC or Endeavor or anybody on my own. But with some key strategic players that we bring in and over time as we continue to grow, that see the way that we're doing business, that we're being efficient, that we're spending wisely, that we're, at a better curve and growth rate than most organizations at this stage of their development. Most of, the premier organizations, of UFC and whatnot. So that's kind of where we're, our direction.
Yeah. Hey, just to let the listeners know, I'm only going to take a couple more comments because we're wrapping up right now. I didn't realize we had been on here for an hour and 15 minutes, but there will be future shows down the road with Mike and Greg and everybody. But I just want to get this one comment out here because I like this part. John Grady says it takes a great deal of courage to be an entrepreneur. When did you know when did you know that you made it, that you no longer were surviving but thriving?
Hmm.
He's a
Um,
psychologist, bro. So
no, good question. You know, I'd like to say that but you don't know because you never know what's around the corner. That's why you always have to live like you're surviving, right? The minute you smell the roses, somebody comes over you. It's just like a boxer. If you think got to the top, you stop training. You take it a little easy because you think you're at that mountaintop. Well, it's just some little hungrier than you coming up right behind you, and he's going to hand you your ass before you know it. So. Um, like right now I'm on vacation with my family. I very rarely take a vacation. I take now in the summer, come to the Bahamas for a couple of weeks with my family, but I'm still working. I mean, I've been pumping out papers. I come in, enjoy a couple hours in the beach, come back up to my desk, work a couple hours, and technically I'm on vacation, but you never can take it off. So it's fully off because the wheels come off. So you to be successful, and I talk to a lot of people all the time. One of the guys that worked at the bank asked me about to be an entrepreneur, and I said, well, you got to be willing to work 7 days a week. Got to be willing to work 20-hour days. Not forever. Could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years, depending how lucky you are. But if you're willing to do that, you have a good chance of being successful because in those 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, you're doing the right thing and you're going to find opportunities if they don't find you, you know, and they're like, nah, I kind of like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, so it's not for everybody, it's not for everybody, but if you like to work hard and see those rewards come in, then you really never stop. A man stops working. A man that's worked all his life stops working and he starts dying. I saw that happen to my grandfather. My dad, he's retired, but he comes to my office and he has a desk there and he works. He has some time. He's 84 years old, 84 years young, and he works 5 days a week. Comes in, does his thing, gets home, keeps his head going, keeps him active, and that's what I'd like to be. I told my daughters when they were growing up, I wish one of them would have been a veterinarian because I could see myself as the little old guy that brings in the dogs to the appointment, and then when he's done, brings it out to the lobby again. I said that'd be a great retirement job for me, but none of them wanted to be a veterinarian, so I got to find something else to do.
but I feel you though, because I think Greg understands. I don't know how long you've been in this industry, Greg, but I tell you, 40 years. When you're a photographer, people don't understand. I came from 35 millimeter days, so it was. I shot the weigh-ins, had to go back, develop all my own pictures. Then the fights had to go back, develop all my own pictures, and then in about 2010, 2011, the SLRs came out in digital, and I go, I'm screwed. I said, these guys, that already know how to use these cameras, got 2 years worth of college. I've never even touched one. I said, well, I'm pretty much screwed on this, but I don't know what to do. I'm my only boss, So I ain't gonna lie. I'll tell a real quick story. I went to the Lawrence Photography. I had 4 hours before I had to shoot a fight. And I told the guys, I said, man, I will pay you guys whatever, but I need you to take me in the back and I need you to make a hard ball stand still in the middle of the air and I need to swing a bat and not have any blur. And they're just looking at me like, what the hell? I said, bro, and I got to fight in 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that. So I paid them $225. They programmed my camera and went and shot one of the best fights of my life. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no idea, but hey, you gotta improvise like Mike says. I'm gonna answer Harrison Gigliotti's and then I'm gonna finish up. He says Boston or New Hampshire, Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. Harrison, bring something real. No, I'm joking with you, brother. My brother John J. Lance, who was at me with the Hall of Fame, I really appreciate that. John, he says nothing but respect for those ideas of living within the means. And it's true. You have to. Greg, how hard is it for you to come into an organization that is already established, create that aspect of living in your means, and still being the popular guy on the block?
Yeah, you have to get everyone to buy into what you're bringing to the table. You have to get everyone to trust that what your vision is through your eyes is the proper road to take. You just got to get up and work hard every single day, and they start seeing progress, and they start seeing piece by piece that you're taking steps in the right direction, and you're taking those steps, down the path that you laid out for everyone. So it's it's still a work in progress, but now I think everyone is marching to the same tune, and you're starting to see the fruits of that collective labor.
Yeah. And look, bro, no more UFC logo.
That's right.
I remember, I'm gonna bust your balls for a minute, bro. I remember we were in Rock Hill, and I had a BYB shirt. I think I had this one on. And Greg says, "Hey man, can we get you to switch that hat out? You're gonna be on TV. We've got to get you to switch that hat out." And then I went to Mike. I said, "I'm fucking mad." He says, "Why?" I said, "Greg wants me to wear a BYB hat." I said, "I don't take my UFC hat off for anybody." Mike said, "Just put the fucking hat on." But you know what? Now it's my favorite hat.
Real quick, I had a buddy of mine when I was in NASCAR. He was a big sports agent. He's still a very good friend. He might be watching tonight because he supports what we're doing with BYB. And he was representing the driver that used to run the RC Cola truck. And he walks into the RC Cola truck to meet with the team owner and the RC Cola sponsor drinking a Pepsi. and I happen to be with him. And we walk in, and he walks in, and he says hi, all nonchalant. Again, he was a big agent at the time, and the guy looks at him straight face, and he says, "Can I entertain you with one of our products?" But it was just very, and he realized what he had done, and I started laughing. I mean, it was pretty funny. Know your audience, I guess.
Oh yeah, you got to. There was one comment that I could see because I have multiple devices that show me. Here it is. Now we talked about trilogies before we wrap things up. We talked about trilogies. Here's one of them. It says, "I've seen champ Patty Juarez grow from a boxing contender to a legitimate world champion in her organization, and she gives 110% and takes care of unfinished business. Totally have seen her grow." He's talking about in BYB. I'll start with you first, Greg, and this will be the last question of the night. How proud does it make Greg Bloom to see and to know that you're creating a path, an honest path for these fighters? Because let's face it, you got management companies that come in and take 30%. You got incidentals, you got fight camps, you got everything. By the time a fighter sees their pay, they see about 26, 27% of the initial fight purse. How does it feel for you to be able to provide, to be able to create, and have fighters want to maintain that relationship with BYB and continue on this path? How does it make you feel moving into the future, knowing that the fighters trust this promotion, that the fighters believe in you, and they want to succeed with you? You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, it makes me feel great. We are building something here that's not solely based on money. It's not based on the purse. We're not giving out the biggest purses in the world. We're giving out good, solid purses to all the fighters that come fight for us. But, we're building an organization that people want to come represent and that they want to come fight for and they want to come be a part of. So to me, that gives me the most pride because like you said earlier, a lot of fighters just want to see how much is it. And if it's not X amount of dollars, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And they bring themselves to the highest bidder. But I think we are changing that dynamic, because fighters know when they come to us, to BYB, they have a home. And there's something to be said for the way you treat the fighters, not only it's in addition to what you pay the fighters. So I'm proud, that makes me very proud, and it makes me proud to see how the fighters represent us, because they're proud of being part of a great organization.
That's so dope, very well eloquated. Mike, I told you about it. You got to witness it on tonight's show. The fighters come on, the fighters show love. It's not because you and Greg are on here. It's just because of, various people from the promotions. What would you like to say to the fighters first for representing yours and Dada's dream and the whole team's dream? And what would you like to say to the world about the heartfelt sentiments of BYB and what's coming in the future?
I mean, well, to the fighters, first, thank you. Thank you for believing in us. And like Greg said, we're building, providing opportunities that have been closed down in boxing and increasingly more, and even more in MMA now. We give good purses, and we give frequent fights, right? If your fighter's healthy, we'll give them fights, one every 3 or 4 months, depending how they're healthy, depending on the schedule, on the opponents, if it's a championship run or what. But a lot of the fighters, if they have good sponsor support, will make more on their sponsorship than on the purse. So multiple events, keeps them fresh, doesn't keep them parked. They're going to sharpen, you're an athlete, you want to stay sharp. If you're fighting once a year, you're not going to stay sharp, and you're only getting your sponsors involved and around you and the enthusiasm once a year. It's easy to lose that. So we're giving fighters multiple opportunities over the course of the year to build, to ascend, to become, like you look at Zion and Yuli, that was Zion's third fight. He won a fight. He had a draw or no contest decision against Chad.
No contest.
His second fight, then he took on the monster, and he came out on top. He did great clinch work. Just proud of his effort. And just giving young guys like that the opportunity to shine, the opportunity to fight frequently. At the end of the day, if you're fighting once a year, you can't make a living off it, and you're going to need to take a second or even a third job to make ends meet, because there's prep for training, there's coaches that need to be paid, there's gyms that need to be paid. And if you're doing just one fight a year, it's hard, and you're going to lose your edge. Like I said, somebody else is going to fight 2 or 3 times a year, and they're just going to outwork you, and that's what we try to do. So to the fighters, just thank you for believing in what we're doing. Thank you for believing in what we're saying, because we could say that, and they, the coach, right, or the manager who may get a cut of the payday, he doesn't care. He just wants to see that first check, or he wants to be on what he perceives as the big show, or a lot of times they get misled, or I shouldn't say a lot of times, but it's happened on occasion, where a fighter will get misled for somebody else's agenda under than their own. So I've seen more and more over the last year or so that fighters, Gustavo Trujillo and whatnot, that came over, Guillermo Trujillo, who came over, and he's had
2 fights.
2 fights
2
now
fights.
scheduled in 4 months.
Yeah.
Ike, this is his 3rd or his 4th fight with us right
3rd or
now.
4th,
He fought
yeah.
Tony, he fought Jake Fish, so it's 4th fight. So, they're getting more opportunities instead of being parked. For the fans, and the fan base, as far as what you said, what was to come. Again, it's the trajectory, and we're on our way up. If you've liked what we've done so far, it's only going to continue to get better. We're going to get to more households, and just continue to grow the company, the number of athletes, our footprint, and just tell more stories. There's a lot of stories behind all these fighters. And we're trying to tell their stories, trying to get people to know them, so they can go out there and get more sponsor support. It's not necessarily for us. Yeah, we want the fans to know the stories behind our fighters, but we're telling these stories for them so they can go back to their family, their friends, their sponsors, their support structure, and say, hey, look, my hard work is not in vain. People are noticing what we're doing. Let's keep growing. Let's keep going. And that's really the key. That's what we want to be is a home for the fighters.
Well, I think that's what has transpired. Even just the little 3.5 years that I've known you, I've watched this go from an organization to people I care about to family. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but you and I are friends on a different level, and I respect that, and to be able to be a part of your walk away from this is an absolutely beautiful thing too, because let's face it, life is too short, and we're all here for the same thing. We want to see everybody succeed. That at the end of the day, that's what I appreciate about both of you gentlemen. Is it's not about how fat you can make your pocket. I mean, of course, it's part of it, because it's an industry, but you want to see other people succeed. You want to see other people move forward in life. And that is such an unusual aspect to a promotion. I'm sure Greg can speak for me. They generally, a promotion doesn't give two shits about you. As long as you show up, get your fight done, and get out the door, they don't give two craps. As long as you didn't leave a incidental charge on your room, they're good with it. Hell, even the UFC used to put me in rooms with a carpet crunch. When I walked in, and you have to sleep in your clothes and use your backpack as a pillow, and they're supposed to be the #1 promotion in the world, but yet I've never had one of them rooms with BYB. BYB treats their fighters and everybody tremendous. At the end of the day, I'm proud of what you guys are accomplishing. I'm proud that I get to play a little small pertinent role in the creation of BYB, but you guys are killing it, so hats off to you and to you, Greg, because I see nothing but a bright future. When the rest of the sport is falling down around us, BYB continues to grow. And, the economy is crap. So for BYB to continue to grow truly says a lot about both of you.
Yeah.
And I think Mike's computer died.
Thanks. Much appreciated.
Greg, I'll hand it to you for the last comment of the night. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we kind of dip here, brother?
Nah, I want everyone to continue to tune into BYB. June 14th in Jacksonville is going to be a big show. The press conference is going to be off the hook on the 13th, and then we have the big heavyweight title fight in July 13th at the Hilario Center. Just keep watching BYB, and we're going to keep bringing the most exciting fights in bare knuckle.
Amen. Hey, I want to come to the one on the 13th though, because after this surgery, then they're going to replace his shoulder. So I'm only going to be able to do the radio shows for a year. So I want to come to that one in between surgeries, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I don't mind. You're more
It was
than
an
welcome.
honor. It was an honor and a pleasure, brother.
Thanks, Don.
keep doing what you're doing, and I'm so proud of what you guys have accomplished. And just keep showing the world that a true promotion can exist without ego and mentality. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks,
you have a good night. God bless.
Bye.
Well, we lost Mike, but we're able to keep Greg. I'm just honestly grateful for Mike to come on the show while he's on vacation in the Bahamas. I don't know if I could have. He says, one day I plan on challenging Mike Vazquez to a go-kart race. You're a fool, bro. This has to be the most I've ever seen Greg Bloom smile while he looks so serious. I'll give you that. And then Shaggy, I'm sorry I didn't see this. I should have got that up there earlier, but Michael watched this again. He's that type of individual. I don't take any money from anybody on this show. I truly have just dedicated a lot of it to BYB, and I'm still doing other interviews in between. But if you can give it a like or a share, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to build, the BYB side of things, because these young fighters truly deserve it. They've shown time and time again that they're rightfully deserving, and they're willing to just give it their all. I didn't even think he can speak so much. Y'all be nice. But on that note, have a good night. God bless. Oh, if you guys didn't see it, everybody, a couple of people were asking me about it. There's my National Boxing Hall of Fame ring. I like this one. It's a little bit smaller than the other one, but they all still sit right here. With that being said, have a good day and good night.